I'm not gonna say anything, but I think everybody saw the game, so they know what happened.
There is a widely held notion that NBA officiating can sometimes favor marquee names players, like LeBron James, James Harden, and Jason Tatum, among others. Over the years, many high-profile stars seem to benefit from what some fans refer to as superstar calls. This phenomenon isn't new. It has been discussed for decades in relation to legends like Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. The argument is that referees subconsciously give the benefit of the doubt to certain players, especially when these players drive to the basket or initiate contact in ways that are often interpreted as fouls in their favor. In Luka Doncic's case, however, a pattern has emerged where he appears to receive the opposite treatment. Fans and analysts frequently cite plays where he experiences substantial contact hits on the arm, bumps in the lane, or strong body checks, yet the whistles remain silent. On the flip side, any minor contact initiated by Luka can be quickly called as a foul against him. The perception is that some of these calls are soft, lacking the clear or forceful contact that would normally constitute a foul at the NBA level. Examples abound. A slight brush on Luka while he is shooting might be completely ignored by the officials, whereas if Luka inadvertently extends an arm to create space, something that many star players do without penalty, he gets whistled almost immediately. The key point here is not that Luka should never be called for fouls. Rather, it is the consistency with which he is penalized for marginal contact compared to how rarely he seems to get calls in his favor when defenders are hacking his arms, grabbing his jersey, or bodying him off his path. This discrepancy becomes even more apparent when contrasted with other superstars. NBA referees have a tough job. Mistakes happen, and not every call can be perfect. But when a star of Luka's caliber is consistently singled out for contact that other top-tier players often get away with, or for contact that typically nets other stars a foul in their favor, fans and commentators start to wonder if something else is at play. One of the major talking points surrounding Luka has been the number of technical fouls he accumulates each season. Technical fouls can be issued for a wide range of infractions, arguing with referees, showing up an official, excessive complaining, or unsportsmanlike conduct. However, Luka appears to receive technical fouls for relatively benign actions that, for other players, might only warrant a warning or no reaction at all. For instance, there have been moments where Luka reacts to a questionable call by throwing his hands in the air, an expression of frustration that is hardly unique to him. Yet on multiple occasions, this same gesture has resulted in an immediate whistle for a technical foul. Similarly, he has been tied up for wiping sweat off the ball, a mundane action that almost every player in the league does. Observers argue that such an action should not automatically translate into a technical foul, unless there is some overtly disrespectful gesture or delay of game tactic, neither of which applied to Luka in those instances. Moreover, the video evidence that circulates among fans shows many times when other players complain to officials in the same manner or even more aggressively than Luka, without receiving any When Luka does it, however, the reaction from referees can be swift, as if they are predisposed to penalize him for even mild forms of protest. This leads to speculation that Luka is being singled out. Critics suggest that officials have grown tired of his animated reactions, and rather than treat him equally, they hand out technicals in a disproportionate way. The broader implication is that referees may be allowing personal biases to affect their calls. They might be reacting not just to the immediate situation, but to Luka's reputation for arguing. If that is indeed the case, it raises questions about fairness, integrity, and the professional standards of the NBA's officiating crews. A recurring theme is that some of the worst non-calls against Luka come during crucial stretches of the game, moments that can directly influence the outcome, whether it's the final possession of a close contest or a pivotal moment in the fourth quarter. There have been several instances where Luka gets clearly hit on the arm during a shot attempt, or he is physically pushed off balance while driving to the basket. Yet play continues as if no foul occurred. In many of these situations, slow-motion replays show indisputable contact. The referee angle appears clear enough that one would expect a whistle if the same scenario involved another star player. However, for reasons that remain unclear, Luka's contact is overlooked. A specific example often cited by fans is a play where Luka was shoved while trying to receive an inbound pass. The referees were looking directly in his direction, but decided not to call a foul. Even though such a shove against other superstars might have triggered an immediate whistle or even a review to assess the level of contact, these non-calls can be game-changing when a team is in the penalty or when the score is tight. Failing to call an obvious foul can swing momentum dramatically. Instead of getting free throws or a potential and-one opportunity, Luka's team ends up losing possession or having to take a tougher shot. Consequently, the frustration level escalates, not only for Luka, but for his teammates and coaches who see a star player being treated differently than others in similar situations. What began as a conversation among fans and social media circles has now caught the attention of mainstream NBA analysts. On multiple talk shows and highlight segments, respected commentators have pointed out that something seems off in the way Luka is being officiated. Nick Wright is specifically mentioned as calling out the referees for unprofessional behavior. According to Wright, the issue goes beyond normal officiating errors. It borders on personal grudges that some officials might be harboring against Luka for his constant chatter or complaints about calls in previous games. This commentary from national pundits is significant, as NBA analysts often wield considerable influence over public perception. Their discussions may prompt the league office to take a closer look at officiating trends, especially if they suspect that personal biases are affecting refereeing decisions. The last thing the NBA wants is a reputation for uneven officiating that damages the credibility of its games. By drawing attention to these issues, analysts are effectively urging the league to address any possible biases before they become too entrenched. Moreover, when credible voices highlight these concerns, it encourages fans and casual viewers to scrutinize games more closely. They might start looking at every interaction between Luka and referees to see if the criticism holds water. In some cases, they'll find that he does indeed complain frequently, but in many other cases, they'll observe a legitimate point. Calls that appear obvious to the naked eye get ignored. One of the most telling developments in this ongoing saga is Luka's recent change in demeanor. Early in his career, he was more vocal and direct in criticizing officials during press conferences. He would sometimes express frustration openly, calling out what he perceived as unfair calls or no calls. However, in more recent times, he seems to have adopted a new approach. Rather than openly criticize referees, he offers subtle remarks like, "I'm not going to say anything, but I think everybody saw the game," or words to that effect. This shift is indicative of a player who has grown weary of trying to make his case with words. Perhaps he believes the evidence is self-evident, that fans, commentators, and the league can see for themselves what is happening. By minimizing his public complaints, Luka aims to avoid being penalized further or giving referees another reason to target him. It's also possible he has been advised by team officials or his own representation that continuing to clash with referees might make things worse. In many respects, letting the evidence speak for itself can be effective, especially if the footage of missed calls and dubious technical fouls keeps stacking up. The risk, of course, is that the referees may not change their approach unless there is significant pressure from the league or widespread public criticism. At the same time, Luka's newfound restraint may earn him respect from certain officials who feel he was too demonstrative in the past. As the regular season progresses and teams jostle for playoff positions, these officiating controversies can have far-reaching consequences. For a team led by a star like Luka Doncic, someone capable of putting up triple-doubles and game-winning shots on a nightly basis, every call matters. A badly timed foul or a missed opportunity at the free throw line can derail an entire season. Beyond just the immediate wins and losses, there is a broader principle at stake. The NBA's credibility depends on fair officiating. If fans and players start believing that calls are influenced by personal grudges or external bias, the integrity of the league itself could be called into question. On the bright side, heightened awareness often leads to better oversight. Once an issue becomes too big to ignore, when high-profile analysts are discussing it, when fans on social media are compiling video compilations of missed calls, and when the player himself has noticeably changed his behavior, there's a strong possibility that the league will intervene or at least instruct referees to be more consistent. Indeed, we have seen in the past that when controversy reaches a certain tipping point, the NBA Referee Operations Department might issue clarifications, send memos reminding officials to stay vigilant, or even institute new rules and guidelines. To reduce ambiguity, Luka Doncic is only at the beginning of what promises to be a long and storied career. His on-court brilliance is unmistakable, and his passion for the game is evident. As he continues to evolve both as a player and as a leader for his team, the hope is that he will be officiated with the same fairness and respect accorded to other superstars. The conversation about calls, technical fouls, and no calls should ideally become less about perceived bias and more about the natural flow of competition. The NBA thrives when its brightest stars are allowed to showcase their talents, without worrying about inconsistent or biased officiating. Fans tune in to watch Luka's step-back threes, pinpoint passes, and sneaky drives to the rim, not to see him frustrated by arbitrary whistles or missed fouls. The league prides itself on a fast-paced, drama-filled product, but that drama should come from the athletic battles between skilled players, not from ongoing feuds with referees over questionable decisions. While controversies and debates are part of what makes sports compelling, fairness remains paramount. If the perception of fairness erodes, the product suffers. Ultimately, the issues presented here underscore a central theme. The rules of basketball are meant to be applied evenly. Star players, role players, and everyone in between should be held to the same standard. If Luka Doncic has to fight for calls that other superstars readily receive, that undermines the competitive balance. If he is repeatedly slapped with technical fouls for commonplace reactions that other players get away with, that raises questions about the impartiality of those officiating the game. If blatant contact against him goes uncalled during pivotal moments, fans and analysts will inevitably notice and question what is really going on. By highlighting these key points: disparity in calls, questionable technical fouls, glaring missed calls in crucial moments, growing media attention, and Luka's own shift in behavior, this script aims to provide a comprehensive overview of the situation as it currently stands. The next step is ultimately in the hands of the NBA and its officiating crews. Will they acknowledge the issue and strive to be more consistent? Or will these controversies continue to fester and overshadow Luka's tremendous contributions to the league? Only time will tell. For now, the hope is that raising awareness will help level the playing field, ensuring that Luka Doncic is treated with the same respect and fairness as any other superstar in the game.